Why can I hear the light? It's okay, we've been here before. Carry on the light, they won't know it hurts more. It's okay, we've been here before. Carry on the light, they won't know it is. It's okay, we've been here before. Carry on the light, they won't know it hurts more.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the HP Podcast. This time, number 288. Getting up there, boys. Turning into old men here on this here podcast. With me here today is Dave, my main man, Wavy, as we call him at home, back at home in the home. What's up, Dave? How you doing?
I'm good. I've been ensconced in the Summer Olympics for the past week.
Ensconced.
I can't get enough of this.
Yeah.
And I'm watching the weirdest shit. Like, I didn't know something called canoe slalom existed, where they canoe. It looks like a kayak, but they only have the one-sided oar down like a whitewater rapid. And you think like, okay, they're just going to go straight down and like maintain control. But no, they have to actually go through fucking gates and stuff, and some of the gates they got to go like around them and stuff. And you're just seeing a lot of stuff that you didn't think it was possible for human beings to do. So yeah.
I also like the weird sports, which is funny because when I was in college, what year Olympics would that have been? Probably like, was it 2008 or that's probably somewhere in there. 2006, 2008, 2010. Those would have been the only possible years for Summer Olympics, I guess. I remember I was at the school. We had it up. I was there for something. We had all this stuff. You couldn't find the weird stuff. It was always like the mainstream stuff. And now I feel like the more weird, the better. Like the pistol shoot. I don't remember ever being a thing before. Not that that's that weird, but like
fast or walking.
Walking. Like the speed walking.
Yeah.
Or like the Winter Olympics are a prime example too. Like I feel like it wasn't that long ago that people were like, whatever to what's it called? I can't even say the name of it. thing where you shave the ice and move the
Oh, curling.
curling. Thank you, man.
Curling.
I feel like it was like people are like curling. Why would you want to watch that? And now people are like, yeah. Brandon, are you in the Olympics? Not are you in the Olympics? Are you into the Olympics?
Not really.
Okay.
But I will tell you guys this, and I'll tell you after the show how much it was. But I placed a $50 bet on the men's basketball Olympic team,
Yeah.
and it was a 5-leg parlay.
Okay.
And I hit all 5 legs on a $50 bet. I'll tell you after the show how much.
Why you
I
got to
won.
tell us after? Why don't you just tell us now? Don't you want to? Come on.
Uncle Sam's listening, dude.
You know that they report that still, right? Like the betting apps have to report
No,
that.
dude.
They do. Just saying.
It ain't
Just saying you're not
happening,
safe.
We're never safe from Uncle Sam. I know that.
That's what I'm saying.
Dave doesn't know this, but we know this.
I think they're pretty. I think they have some taxes in Canada as well. I don't know how they work, but
Yeah.
they're definitely not as confusing as ours. I would imagine.
Uncle
Just
Justin
a lot more
instead.
of them.
There's a lot more of them. Yeah, there's a lot more of them. You do get some benefits we don't have, but you don't have freedom, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. The older I get, the more I want to move. But
Yeah?
it is what it is.
I make the joke about Canada not having freedom, but that's a lot of people are like, I want to move to Canada, and then, you know, whatever. It could be political, it could be whatever, but like, there's always somebody, no matter who it is, what side's winning in the U.S., whatever, that's like, I want to move to Canada. But I haven't heard many people say they want to move from Canada to the U.S.
No, I don't know. It's kind of shitty anywhere right now.
Yeah.
But Canada's not a great place to be at the moment, and
Ah.
I don't know if that's ever going to change. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Too many
Well-
beavers up there.
That's all the beavers and
beavers.
the maple syrup must be nice, though. I hear you guys have taps like in your houses.
yeah, we do. It's just a guy called Larry comes around and cleans it once a year, and you just have unlimited supply of maple syrup.
That's
We
amazing.
put it in our coffee.
Yeah.
That actually does sound good.
I bathe in it sometimes too.
Yeah.
Got to.
Fully clothed.
That's actually it's in one of our paid tiers on Patreon. There's a video of me bathing in maple syrup. So
It's the secret hidden top tier. we'll give you the discount code if you want to sign up for that one.
yeah,
The $100,000 a month.
So far, it's just me and
Subscription.
Brandon in there. I don't know, man. Well, this is the HP podcast. We usually talk about video games and maple syrup, or whatever else we feel like talking about. We come to you every Tuesday night, live here on YouTube, 7 p.m. Eastern, to talk about those video games and, you know, news around them. If you want to help support us, you can go over to patreon.com/handsomephantom and support us for as little as $1 a month. We really appreciate that. It helps us, you know, occasionally we got to buy a new mic or a new cord or keep the website up or whatever. If you don't want to support us, that's fine too. You can listen on audio feeds on Thursdays around 11 a.m. You can get ad-free early access if you're on the Patreon. But if not, that's okay. That's okay. There's some ads there too. And then the video's up all the time. We kind of created a loophole. People can watch ad-free early Tuesday night if they catch it live. But other than that, if you want the audio, you got to wait. I'm sorry.
That's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair.
Patreon.com/handsomephantom, as little as $1 a month, like I mentioned. I say a little as $1 a month. Honestly, like $1 a month gets you everything. Except for 1 month early access to HP After Dark, which we will be doing soon. There's a train outside. You get to hear that occasionally. It's a perk.
That's free. Free of charge.
That's free. Everybody gets that, no matter who you are. If you want something else that's free, is the Discord. You can go over and join us at handsomephantom.com/Discord. Got a lot of people over there hanging out, talking nonsense all the time. I don't sell this very well. I'm always like, it's a mess over there. People are. It's actually
Those
fine.
fucking idiots.
Yeah,
Those
it's actually
loser-
it's totally fine. Okay.
It's
totally
great,
fine.
Ben. It's great. You're underselling it. It's great.
You're right. It is great.
It's
You
great.
get every Monday, Poot post a message in the Discord talking about how excited he is for the next day, and then he never shows up. I'm just kidding. Poot's always there. He's not. He's waiting.
He's a
He's
legend.
waiting for the right moment to say something perfect. Usually, I feel like that's what he does.
Legend.
Legend. Guys, let's talk about some video games. Number 1, Marvel Rivals. The headline here is from Twisted Voxel. It says Marvel Rivals closed beta attracts 20 times more players than the Concord beta. The closed beta for NetEase's game for NetEase Games' upcoming hero shooter, Marvel Rivals, has attracted over 20 times more players than the open beta for Sony Interactive Entertainment and Firewalk Studios' team-based first-person shooter Concord. According to Steam player count statistics, the Marvel Rivals closed beta has around 22 times higher player count than the open beta for PlayStation's Concord on Valve's digital PC platform, indicating that the former is resonating a lot more with multiplayer shooter fans. It's worth noting that Marvel Rivals is a free-to-play title, so it's expected to have a higher degree of engagement. Now, note, these are both free-to-play betas, so that would have been equal, but eventually one will be free and one won't, so there is a barrier there. While the Marvel Rivals closed beta requires a sign-up, access is pretty much certain once the players select request access under Join Marvel Rivals playtest on the Steam store page. I will talk about that in a moment. As such, for all intents and purposes, it's only a closed beta in name. Meanwhile, as the name implies, the open beta for Concord available to everyone with a Steam account, and the only sign-up required is for a PlayStation Network account. I'll talk about that as well. Etc., etc., etc. Long story short, Marvel Rivals is absolutely destroying the Concord beta. Dave, what does this mean? Actually, I'm sorry, Dave. I got to take that back. I got to say two things. One, they said it's basically an open beta, and you can pretty much anybody can get a code. That's not true. The moment, because I don't care about this game. I want to play this game. The moment that the beta sign up, like where you could request a key, I requested it. Still have not gotten one, which is fine. They don't owe me one. It's fine. But the only other way to get one right now is either from someone who's played the game and unlocked one, which somebody offered me one for PlayStation. I want to play it on PC. The other way is by Twitch drops, which refresh at 8 o'clock tonight. So at 8 o'clock, I will be distracted trying to get my drop, my key. Just so everybody knows, whatever's happening, I'm going to stop and look at this other screen and do it. Okay? That's what's happening.
That's fair.
Dave, okay, now, what do you think?
You really touched on this last week, Ben, where Concord really should be the free-to-play. This should kind of be the other way around, where Marvel Rivals is the paid title and Concord is the free-to-play game. And I really think the point about Marvel being a known quantity is really what's the driving force here behind Marvel Rivals having such a disparity in people playing its beta over Concord. I don't know. This appears to be Sony's first real crack at games as a service, and I hope they're learning a lot from the failure that Concord is inevitably going to be, because it's just, I don't know. This game's going to fail. We were talking on the Discord earlier this week about the controller that Concord's launching with, and I think that's going to be the only successful thing about Concord, unfortunately. But yeah, I just hope that the studio behind Concord doesn't kind of take the fall for what Sony is making them do, because this is really starting to smell like one of those Redfall situations where, you know, one of the big publishers, you know, Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, was making this studio do something that they don't really want to do. And I just fear that they're going to be shut down as a result of this, because there are quality parts of Concord, as it seems, but it's going to die. And that price tag is too much of a barrier for people. There's too much competition that doesn't have that barrier in front of it. So, yeah, I don't know if Sony can kind of change their approach on this at this point. I'm assuming people have pre-ordered Concord, all three people, but it's just like that's going to kill this game, unfortunately. And this is another signal of that. So, rip Concord already.
Dave, I wonder what is making you think that Sony is pushing them to do this, because I think they were already developing it when Sony bought them.
I think this is. I suspect they want to develop a shooter, a first-person shooter, because this. I can't remember the name of the studio. If somebody could say it right now.
I don't remember either.
Yeah, Fire. No.
Call of Duty veterans, they're first-person shooter people, competitive first-person shooter people. But a game like this, a hero shooter, I don't think is probably what they had in mind when they started development of this. And I suspect, again, Sony needs a games as a service. That's just how the industry's going, and Sony's a big piece of that, and it doesn't have a game in this sphere. So I we'll never know this for sure, but I suspect that if this studio had their own way, that they probably would have gone a slightly different direction with Concord. Maybe something with a single player campaign, or something that was a little bit more approachable from a from a something that I would want to play. But it doesn't look like that's the case. So yeah, I do feel like Sony is influencing them somewhat in what Concord is going to be. So yeah.
Brandon, your thoughts on the giant disparity in interest, seemingly, between these two?
Yeah, I mean, at first glance, it seems pretty drastic and shocking, and like an incredibly bad thing for Concord. What I will say in defense of Concord is that Marvel is Marvel, okay? And you slap a free price tag on anything Marvel, and you're going to get a lot of people just trying it, regardless. So I don't know that necessarily Concord has anything to do with the success of Rivals and vice versa. I think that these two things kind of stand independently. I will say you did touch on something very important in these stats, though, Ben, is the difficulty of the stats we're getting are from PC, and it's not been an easy journey to achieve those keys. And so I would imagine that there was probably a lot more people that wanted to try but couldn't. Like me,
No.
I wanted to try it on a PC and I couldn't. And even more so, I mean, not that I'm sure Concord wouldn't have a large PC audience, but I don't know. I think there's a bigger story to be told from a PlayStation audience as well, just because of the type of game it is. So, I don't know. Twofold. I'm not saying this is good. I'm not saying that I think that, Rivals or Concord are better or worse than each other. But I think that just simply putting these stats side by side doesn't really tell the whole story. And I think there is more going on than just straight up numbers. I think there's been a big difference in the way they've been presented, and kind of the platforms that they maybe have the most players on, potentially. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's some validity to what you're saying for sure. I'm just curious if let's just take PC players, period. When PC players are presented with the option to play a free beta, that's a first person or that's a shooter, I feel like whether it's a PlayStation game or whether it's an Xbox game or whether it's a PC only game or mobile game, whatever, it's about the interest in that game when it's available on PC for free to play. So you may be right. I think probably what you guys both said. I think the bigger issue is that Concord. I did say it's fun. I had fun with it, but I don't care about that IP at all. Who doesn't at least know Spider-Man?
Right.
Like
Exactly.
maybe you're not a huge Marvel fan. You hate the MCU, whatever. You know Spider-Man, and you probably don't hate Spider-Man, right?
Right.
Like it's much more ubiquitous, and people know it. So I think that's probably the biggest factor of it. There's probably some validity in what you're saying, but like most people who see it on Steam on PC don't care or know that it's made by PlayStation and going to be a PlayStation exclusive, whatever. So I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. I really definitely am interested in playing Marvel Rivals.
I want to play them
It's
both.
going to be free.
Yeah, I want to play. I honestly want to play them both. So
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, let's talk about something else that you were interested in, Brandon. That's Stellar Blade. This isn't really an article. This is from the Tech for Gamers forums. It says Stellar Blade new content, DLC/sequel, and PC port confirmed. The post says Cindy Starlight. And again, this is a forum, so this may not be 100% accurate, but it is what it is. Found a few job listings for Stellar Blade from Shift Up. The first one seems to confirm a development of a PC port, which we've heard rumor of before. They're looking to hire a combat designer for PC development, which specifically asks for PC-related skills. The second is a listing for battle designer, monster creation. This seems to be for new DLC work or work on the second game, since Stellar Blade was such a success. If they want to create new monsters and work on their movesets, this probably means more content is coming, whether it be through DLC or a new game. As for the PC port, do note that they already stated it was being discussed. Brandon, you really like Stellar Blade. Are you interested in DLC, or did you get your money's worth out of it already? You're done.
I feel like I did probably get my money's worth out of it. But obviously I'd be interested in DLC. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this is just like work on another game. I feel like it was successful enough That, yeah, I don't know. It definitely leaves things kind of open to continue, and I wonder how the story would actually kind of play out. Now that I'm thinking of it, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'd definitely be in on DLC. Hard to say. I mean, it is kind of early. I think even if we do get something like DLC, I don't know that it would be anytime soon. But a new game, I think, would be way off. At least I would assume so.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely cool to see. I mean, props to them. We talked about how well it sold. So we definitely will be getting more Stellar Blade. It's just a matter of time. So
Dave, I know that you didn't play, and I think you didn't really enjoy the demo for Stellar Blade, if I'm remembering correctly. Maybe I'm wrong here, but I'm just curious about your overall thoughts on DLC or a sequel, and specifically, I want to know with the possibility of a PC port. Why? First of all, there's gonna be some crazy mods, if there even need to be mods for that game. Second of all,
Did you see me do the Brandon right there?
yeah.
did the
Second of all,
mods.
like, I don't understand why this game. I know it's a matter of resources and time and money, but they had to, like, why not just put out the PC port at the same time, or why not start work? Like, the game came out and sold a lot and was a success before they started working on it. Even if it comes out later, why not be working on it already? Like, the base game is done. You just gotta port it, and I know that I say just gotta port it. It's harder than that, but can't be a lot harder, right?
They
Yeah,
probably
you just change the file name from
Right.
.ps5 to .pc.
.pc,
That's
yeah.
all it is.
Yeah,
And you zip the folder.
and I think for Mac you have to. You just type .mac, but it has to be the operating system name in
We
there.
can
too.
all port our own games, fellas. This is
Yeah.
easy. But
.tim Apple.
I suspect Shift Up was taking a conservative approach with this game, and this is a game that was a risk. It was an unknown commodity or quantity, and it's new IP. So I respect Shift Up's approach of waiting to see if this game was successful before making the decisions for a PC port and DLC or a sequel, whatever this is. I also think that delaying your launch on PC is good because it gives you a second boon, gives you a second batch of PR, as another group of sect of the audience gets to see your game. And we make jokes about the mod thing, but like that's going to be a big aspect of this game coming to PC. So I think if you can kind of separate a console launch from the PC launch, then you have the possibility of kind of almost having a second, peak there in players. So I think Shift Up is going to take advantage of that. As for DLC, I think that whatever this forum post is alluding to, I feel like it's a bit late to be starting work on a DLC. Just because I feel like so often DLCs are produced in tandem with the main game, and they're just kind of released later. I think what this more likely is a second game, which makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people want to see more from this character and this universe and this franchise, and I think Sony's interested in continuing on with Shift Up on Stellar Blade. So whatever this new work they're starting on, I suspect is probably in the realm of a sequel rather than DLC. I think it probably makes sense for Shift Up to release a sequel as soon as they can. I'm not saying like next year or something like that, but don't wait like 10 years and give us Stellar Blade 2. Yoko Taro, that kind of stuff, but this is not Nier Automata. So, I think the PC release is going to be huge for them, and if they do that sometime next year, then I think they'll see success from that, and we're probably going to get a DLC or a sequel sooner than we think. So,
Yeah.
good for Shift Up.
Yeah, especially coming from a studio. They had the huge success with Stellar Blade, and before that, all they ever did was a mobile game, which, in fairness, is kind of robust in more ways than one.
In many ways.
But you wouldn't expect them to be able to be like, hey, we made a mobile game. Now we're going to make a basically just under AAA level game, honestly.
Honestly, I've played AAA games that are way worse than.
Yeah.
Like,
I meant
way worse.
AAA is usually in reference to budget, but I was using it there in a matter of quality.
It's
so,
nowhere close to a quad A like Skull and Bones, though.
That's right. Do you think there are more or less people interested in Concord than are still playing Skull and Bones?
I think there's probably more people playing Skull and Bones.
Yeah.
Skull and Bones has a dedicated community. of sailors. I know. I spoke in the chat and people responded to me.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. I believe that. Next story. This comes from Kotaku, which I don't usually love to reference, but they did have a good article on it. Video game actors are going on strike over AI. It says they're going on strike the first time since 2017 after months of negotiations with Activision, Epic Games, and other big publishers and studios over higher pay, better safety measures, and protections from new generative AI technologies. They'll be hitting the picket line a year after Hollywood actors and writers wrapped up their own historic strikes in an escalation that could have big consequences for the development and marketing of some of the industry's biggest games. Members of the SAG-AFTRA voted last fall to authorize a strike, citing an unwillingness of big game companies to budge on guaranteeing performers' rights over how their work was used in training AI or creating AI-generated copies. Roughly 2,600 voice actors and motion capture artists, including Troy Baker, Jennifer Hale, Matt Mercer, have been working without an interactive media agreement since November of 2022. The strike starts on July 26th, so it's already started by this point. Guys, we've talked about AI, we've talked about unions, talked about strikes, all that kind of stuff. So we can kind of wrap that all up into here. But Dave, I want to hear what your thoughts are. How do you feel about both the strike, the protections they're seeking, as well as just AI and video games in general? Not that, just quickly sum that up for me if you could. It's not a deep topic at all.
I think that the effects of this strike are going to be felt. There's going to be kind of a delayed reaction here. So I think I was reading somewhere that if your game started production before August 2023 or something like that, that this strike, people were able to continue to work on your game. So I think it's going to be a lot like COVID, where the effects of this event are going to have a delayed thing. And I think we're going to start to see that next year, where maybe not as many games as we were expecting get announced, or stuff starts getting delayed into the later point of next year. So I think the effects of this, I don't want people to forget about this, because you're not going to feel it right away. But yeah, AI is real. It's a real threat. I think that the strike has kind of been pressured also by this looming threat of studio closers. And we talk about layoffs every single week on this show, except for this week, funny enough. So I think AI is kind of just the straw that broke the camel's back in something like this happening. We also talked about last week about how the video game industry is making more money than it ever has been. So why then are so many studios closing down, or so many people losing their job? Are there so many threats to creativity such as AI? So it's not surprising that something like this is happening. I do think the approach is a bit weird with a strike, just because it's putting big publishers and big developers in a position where it's like, if they don't have access to the talent to create their games, and all they have to utilize in the case of a strike is AI, it's kind of like you're lowering your own value, and you're showing developers and publishers that there is a way forward without them. And I just think that's not the best way to go about it. But if you're not getting the deal done that you feel you need for your union, then I mean, you got to do what you got to do. But I do feel for the actors, the voice actors here, because it's, we're already seeing AI play a part. There was a story earlier today about a skin that made it into Call of Duty that was AI generated. So it's one of the biggest gaming franchises in the world. If they're going to start using it, then a lot of people are going to do that too. So I am on their side for this, because it's I like to think that there's a large human aspect to the games that I'm playing, and any threat to that is something that might pull me back a little bit. So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds over the next few months. But it's just, don't forget about it, because again, you're not going to feel it for a little while. So yeah.
Brandon, I want to hear your thoughts. For years, we know that there's been AI in video games, even before we got into this new generation of AI. I mean, you have tools in, Unreal or Epic that you click a button, say generate trees in this area, and it makes trees.
Right.
Okay. That's I'm not really necessarily opposed to that. No artist is like, I take pride in placing every one of those trees. But when it comes to people's voices and their acting,
Right.
that's so much of games, and to take that away, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously think it's great that they are banding together to do what's right for people and not for companies necessarily. So, yeah, I think that we've talked a lot about AI, and I think that a lot of the time when we've talked about it, we've been referencing things like you mentioned, Ben, or like generative art, stuff like that. But I feel like we've only lightly touched on this whole like voice acting bit, and I feel like this is a pretty important thing as the rise of this AI comes about. And I know personally, I've seen some fairly convincing things go around of people that they definitely didn't say. And that's kind of a scary thing to me. I mean, maybe not everybody, maybe your grandma can't pick out like AI images, but I could pick out most of them. Most of the time, you know what's real and what's not because it's not quite there yet. But with
See,
some of these,
this is the part of the show where I reveal that I've been an AI this whole time,
right?
and you didn't know.
God damn it, dude. What am I going to tell Emily?
She knows. She is too. Sorry.
I'm not telling the kid. She's gonna have to tell him, dude. But the voice, some of the voice stuff has been like crazy convincing, and the shitty part is it's almost like with the way AI works, the more voice you feed into this sort of thing, the better it can get. So people that have even been like tenured and have been doing this for a long time and deserve the highest prestige could potentially be copied even easier.
Yeah.
Which is even more of an incentive for companies to not pay them because they have more stuff to pump into this AI. So it's kind of like this very vicious, like disgusting cycle. Now, I will say that even if the voices and some of the things they say might seem convincing, the delivery is never quite the same. Like an AI can't act; it just produces, you know. But that doesn't mean that in a pinch companies won't use it. So, yeah, I think that we haven't talked much about the voice stuff, but I feel like it is a really important aspect of all this. And definitely, it's good that they're kind of taking a step back as a whole because that's the only way you're really going to talk to these companies is when they start losing money. And like Dave said, we might not know it right away. They might not be losing money right away, but they will lose money because of this. And hopefully that's kind of like a change for the better. So
let's move on to the next story. There's been a multiverse data mine, and I don't really care about data mines generally, especially for games I'm not playing. But I knew Dave was playing Multiversus. I said multiverse. It's Multiversus. Multiversus, and also we've talked a lot about Multiversus just because it's an interesting property. But this comes from IGN. It says Multiversus players may soon be able to enjoy from the worlds of Harry Potter and Barbie if a datamind leak is to be believed. Information on what could be the Warner Brothers platform's Figure Fighters' next batch of content comes from Twitter user somebody, who's been sharing what appears to be image of concepts from different stages and characters. While some of the pictures highlight what appear to be early in development locations and gameplay modifiers, others are instantly recognizable. One notable example shows a stage with broomsticks that hover above a platform decorated with 4 distinct colors: blue, red, green, and yellow. It doesn't take a Harry Potter expert to recognize that the broomsticks could signal that the map is intended to be Quidditch themed. Datamine also reveals a stage that is unmistakably inspired by last year's megaton movie hit Barbie. The all-pink location is dressed with palm trees, multiple levels to fight on, and a twisty slide that seems to lead into a pool. Other images show the likes of Powerpuff Girls, DC's Nubia, and Adventure Time's Marceline. So, Brandon, I'll let Dave talk next about this, but I know you had some interest in this game originally. I don't know if you've hopped back into it since it re-released, but any interest in those characters or any just thoughts in general about data mines, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the shit's in the game for a reason. So I feel like a lot of the time, whereas, people have like word of mouth rumors, I feel like these sort of rumors often are not like set in stone clearly, but they have more validity because it's tangible. It's tangible. Unfortunately, I've clicked on every single link in this article. This guy was suspended, and every single
Yeah.
one of the posts is gone.
Right.
So,
Which adds more validity to it, actually.
right, exactly. So
Yeah.
that's kind of unfortunate. As far as the Barbie goes, I mean, I guess that's fine. Powerpuff Girls is awesome. I would love to get a Mojo Jojo. That would be fucking lit. I don't know what the fuck Nubia is.
I don't either. I'm gonna look.
Do you
it
know
up.
what Nubia is, Dave? Anyway, but you know, Adventure Time's Marceline is wonderful because we already have Jake, Finn, and Marceline. Get the
Wait.
whole fucking cast.
Nubia is a fictional character appearing in DC Comics publications and related media, commonly as an ally of Wonder Woman. She's DC Comics' first black female superhero.
Oh no shit. Okay,
So there you
Cool.
go. That's who Nubia is.
Gotcha.
I haven't read any DC Comics in 25 years, so I'm not familiar.
But that being said, they've added a lot of characters even since, prior to this data mine information and the new season dropping, presumably pretty soon. They got Samurai Jack in there now. I was watching someone play that the other day. So definitely some cool shit going on. I have not jumped back in, but honestly, I will be really soon. So, yeah, this is good. This is good news. And I think this continues to push the, push the idea that Warner Brothers is kind of helping to propel this along with some really interesting and important IP to kind of keep it going, which they've done from the beginning. But
Sure.
this just kind of doubles down on that for me.
Dave, as a newly minted Multiversus player, are you excited about these changes, interested in them, and also thoughts on Datamine?
Yeah, I'm interested in the Harry Potter stuff. I would love to impale the dog from Adventure Time with Hermione's fucking broomstick.
I fucking
Yeah.
dare you to, dude.
I think the whole point of this game is to bring together and kind of celebrate all of the cool characters that exist within WB. And like we know all that Marvel has to offer and everybody that falls within the DC umbrella. I feel like WB isn't as defined when it comes to that. Like all of their characters are recognizable, but you don't look at them and think of them as a WB character. I think this is a cool opportunity for WB to kind of establish that a little bit more. So yeah, any character that isn't in the game, like bring them in. Hold on, add some deep cuts here and there, but hold on to the heavy hitters for, a couple times a year, and that'll keep people coming back to your game. So yeah, I don't really care about the Barbie stuff, but I know that would obviously be a big draw for a lot of people, especially after the movie last year.
Listen
as
to you
far
guys
as-
being macho man. I don't care about the Barbies. Barbie would be freaking awesome in a fighting game.
Okay.
Just think about it. Her legs don't bend. She's got all the power in the world when she roundhouse kicks you.
That's
What
true.
about Ken, dude?
Nah, Ken.
He's got the rollerblades.
He blinds you with his lime green sweater.
Bulge.
Yeah. There he is. Just no penis bump. It's
Fight in front like Ken.
as far as data mining, I don't know. Is that rule 35? If there's data with that, and then we're gonna.
Dude,
mine
that's
it?
a new rule. That's
That
a
is a
new
new
rule, Dave.
Well, I don't know
Dave
if we can
just
call
invented
it 35.
I need
Like,
to
I
do
don't-
some research into what data mining is. I assume that someone's going into the back end of something that's like there, but they're not supposed to get into, and they're like doing the 1990s hacking where they're just kind of doing this and deciphering all the code of the Matrix, and
Right.
they're so the foreign symbols turn into like Barbie and Hermione and stuff like. I don't know what data mining is, but
In summary, Dave, data mining is essentially when they ship one of these packages, they ship a new update or whatever, people go through and dissect the files and find, they may be hidden, they may be encrypted, whatever, but they go through and find files that make references to things. Oftentimes, like you saw, they'll put in like an image of a stage or something, or maybe the whole stage, but you can only extract an image of it from the thumbnail of the file or something like that, just so that when the next update comes, it's not as big. That's in a very small nutshell how this kind of data mining works.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
You're a hacker,
it's
dude.
kind of weird because it's like you've put it in the game and you've kind of coded it in a way so people aren't supposed to see it, but you've put it there, so
Yeah, most of the time, I think it technically violates TOS because people are typically having to use tools to read those files that aren't permissible by the game's TOS. But I don't think anybody could ever really be prosecuted for it. You know, a leak or a hack is a different thing than a data mine, honestly.
I think it's pretty cool personally. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Keep it
You just want to
going.
be in the matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember when Google hired that guy? I think it was Google. They hired the guy that hacked them, and then he became like their head of IT security or something like that.
Facebook used to do like a hackathon where they'd find the best. I mean, Google may have done it too. I'm sure they did. But yeah, Facebook used to do that where they'd find somebody who was like the best hacker and then hire them to do some kind of coding or to test their security or build encryptions or whatever.
Dude, that's real G shit.
Yeah.
That is real G shit.
Didn't they do that in The Social Network, the movie? Maybe not.
Probably. I
Probably.
don't remember.
Drop the. Okay. Did you guys see that movie?
What?
The movie, whether you care, I don't care, whatever about
Barbie?
Facebook, whatever about Mark Zuckerberg. The Social Network is one of my favorite movies of the recent past, like semi-recent past.
I mean, I watched it in theaters when it came out, but that's the last time I seen it.
Cinematically, it is a phenomenal movie. The shots are well done. The music is great. The story itself is mostly probably fictional, just based on real events, you know. But The Social Network, A+ movie.
Isn't Justin
Good acting.
Timberlake in that movie, pre-cocaine?
He is in that. Yeah.
Nice.
Well, we don't know if it's pre-cocaine. We know
That's-
it's pre getting caught with cocaine.
Dude, that's before the tour got ruined.
What tour?
The world tour?
Oh, the world tour. Okay.
Did you guys see that picture of him? Or it was a video that somebody took of him up close at a concert.
He's
Yes.
all
His
cracked
like
out,
eyes,
bro.
and there was like that's that Colombian focus, and his eyes are like that.
Bro is zooted. Having a
All right,
couple
Dave
nose
sent this to
beers.
me earlier today. It's from Game Rant. The title of it is Greedfall 2's early access model makes perfect sense after Baldur's Gate 3. And we can just talk about this in kind of loose terms, I guess. It's not really a news story, but it's a thought, an opinion article. I'm going to read most of this thing, even though it's kind of long. But we have time because we can do whatever we want. Since it was confirmed during the Nacon Connect event in February 2024, Greedfall 2 The Dying World, the prequel to 2019 cult classic, has finally gotten an official early access release date of September 24th. During the indefinite early access period, developer Spiders hope to obtain enough feedback that it can build the game alongside players until it becomes the Greedfall experience they've wanted since the release of the first game in 2019. This is a far cry from the developer's approach to the first Greedfall, as its full version was released outright rather than it going through early access. However, this may prove to be the best route for Greedfall 2 to take, as the first game was well received by many, but not enough to become more than a cult classic. Some have questioned the decision to place it into early access, especially with it being a single-player game. Even so, Larian Studios' Baldur's Gate 3 is proof that early access can be highly beneficial for a game if it is modeled correctly. Thankfully, Greedfall 2 seems to be copying BG3's approach to early access. It might be disappointing to some, but Spiders has confirmed that only 30% of Greedfall 2 will be available during early access. It's currently impossible to know how long it will take players to get through 30% of the game, but that may be beside the point. When Baldur's Gate 3 went into early access, only the game's first act was available, and it went on to win Game of the Year in 2023. Okay, I'm going to stop reading now about this. We all probably have opinions on this. Brandon, you of the three of us, I believe, maybe you and I are tied, but you have a lot of interest in Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
None of us played it in early access, though. But I'm just curious about your thoughts about early access in general, BG3 in early access, and then what you think about Greedfall doing early access as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is a good thing overall. I mean, we clearly saw how successful even single player games could be with the right intention behind it, with the game actually being focused on player feedback, like genuine player feedback. I think that as a consumer, the best part for me about Baldur's Gate 3 and why it succeeded so well for me is because I waited until all of that bullshit was done. And I think a lot of people did. So, I don't know. I mean, I think this is a great idea, but for me, like, I'm not going to hop on this. I don't know about you guys. Like, I don't have any desire to play a game that's not finished and only 30% of it's there. Even though I think it's good and you get people that are going to be diehard about it and, you know, will genuinely help to make this game better in the long run, it isn't something I'm interested in. And I feel like with the numbers that BG3 put out, that, like I said, most people weren't a part of the beginning anyway. So I don't know. I think it's a really good thing. And, you know, I don't know that I would trust many developers to do it. I feel like this is kind of Larian was kind of an exceptional thing that doesn't really happen as as much as it maybe should or it could with other developers. But yeah, I think this is overall going to be a net positive for them if they do it right, and that's like with a huge caveat of that. So,
Dave, I'm curious to hear your thoughts as well, since you sent it to me. I assume you had something to say.
No, I have nothing to just kidding.
Wow, amazing.
I completely forgot that Baldur's Gate 3 was in early access, but
a long
October
time.
2020 was when it
Yeah.
came into early access, and apparently they did this with both Divinity games, the original Sin, whatever. So this is not something that's new to them. I think when a studio like Larian or Spiders does something like this, these are small studios. They're not like a Ubisoft project that's worked on by like a dozen different studios. These are small teams. So while the idea of putting a single player game into early access is odd, because, you know, when I think of early access, I think about, you know, testing servers and net code and stuff like that. Whereas that's not really something that you have with a single player game. I think I'm okay with it when a small team does it. My fear is if some of the big boys start to see this, and if, you know, they saw how well Baldur's Gate 3 did despite being in early access for as long as it was, and, you know, Greedfall was great, and presumably Greedfall 2 will be better, and it won't be seen as a cult classic, but it'll sell really well. My concern is that the big boys are going to start to see this and be like, hey, we can release unfinished single-player games in early access as an excuse to rush our projects out the door, and then just have our teams continue to work and update it. Because we're already kind of seeing that with, obviously, a lot of different types of games, most specifically online focused games where, you know, they're just constantly updated to a point where they are eventually finished. But I don't know, I just fear that this becomes a little bit more common practice with studios that are abusing it, and then games don't really launch anymore. They just kind of evolve, and it's like, when do I pay full price for this game? Because I don't know when it's actually finished. So I don't know. I hope this doesn't become a trend. And again, I'm okay with when smaller studios do something like this, but it does worry me a little bit as to, you know, the direction some of the abusers may go. So yeah.
Is it Fortnite technically still in beta? I think it is. 7 Days to Die, I think, just came out of beta, maybe. Kind of wild stuff there, but wow. I'm sorry. That just totally. You ever have like a burp or a cough that just comes, it's there? Like, that was really
there.
rude of me, but it just happened. That's just what happened to me. There are a lot of games that I've seen and thought, nah, no early access. I'm gonna wait, and then you just never see them go out of early access for years and years and years. And maybe they do eventually, but by that point, like, I've either seen enough of it that I don't care or whatever. There have been a few others that have done really well. I think of Hades as a really good example. The first Hades, the second Hades is in early access now, but first Hades was in early access for a good year, a little more than a year. That game obviously turned out really well and sold really well. Deep Rock Galactic, I think, was in early access, and now Deep Rock Galactic Survivor is in early access. Those are turning out really well. But like Dave says, those are smaller studios, smaller games. They're not these giant games like Larian that have the money to do what they need to do ahead of time and ahead of release. But with that said, you know, Larian didn't do us wrong. It was an early access game. I know some people played through the first act once, put it down for 2 or 3 years until the game actually came out, and then they went back, and it felt like a fresh new game to them. So I think it can be good in certain situations. I don't think it's good in every situation, obviously. And I don't really know anything about Greedfall, quite frankly. I mean, I've seen it played a little bit, and obviously I know the name, but we'll see how they do. If Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo or anybody else start putting their games in the early access, I'm gonna be like, okay, bro. Like, I don't think so. It's not how this works. You don't need the capital ahead of time to prove that the game works. And also, I don't trust them not to cancel something. But the only thing that is really nice about early access, like, for instance, with Hades 2, because I knew I'm going to buy and play Hades 2 eventually. So I might as well buy it now, because it's going to be cheaper now than it will be when it comes out. That's like a game that I am certain I'm going to play. So it was fine with me, whatever. And I knew that they did good work with the first one as well after it came out early access. But unfortunately, I don't. If you're going to do an early access and it's really just a beta while you work on it, I really kind of feel like those should be either dirt cheap or free. Like, let people get in there.
Until release, yeah.
Until release, yeah. I don't think you should have it for free forever, but like, if Baldur's Gate 3 had been in early access or beta or whatever you want to call it, and it was free, imagine how many more copies they would have sold. Because the people who got in, and I don't have any data to back this up, but just like demos increase sales generally, I feel like a free beta for a game will increase sales.
Right.
Like, there was some hype around Baldur's Gate 3, but only because it was a legacy with all the other Baldur's Gate, all the other Divinity games, etc. I feel like if you put Baldur's Gate into early access, I can hop in and play it. I don't like it, cool, I go away. I do like it, I tell 10 of my friends about it. Like, that's just how I play games. If I like a game, I'm telling my friends about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just kind of feel like, yeah, the little guys, the really little guys definitely need the money. I understand. And sometimes it's your only option if you want to finish that game. That's it is what it is. But that's not the case a lot of the times now, and I agree that it's a slippery slope. But
Dude,
I don't really have an objective. I don't really have a big problem with it in general, but I don't love it.
Yeah. What about Star Citizen?
Yeah, that's a great example.
It's like $1 billion. No, we're not ready yet. It's coming, but not yet.
30 years later.
Ed in chat brings up, he says, I hate to think this, but games do come out broken already. You already benefit from playing a game as late as possible. There's always something else to play. What do we lose? And I agree with that mostly. The thing I will say is that a lot of early access games, when they come out in 1.0, they aren't broken. They do work out a lot of the kinks because they have people who have paid for the game and are playing it and giving feedback. Now, I'm sure there's some examples where that's not true, where there's been some issues, but any of the games I've really bought in early access, I think of Sons of the Forest, I think of Hades. I didn't pay for Baldur's Gate 3, but it was, other than the third act, relatively unbroken. And that wasn't beta, or that wasn't in early access. So a lot of them have come out just fine. But you're right. I agree that most of the time, waiting a little bit to play a game benefits. Unfortunately, if there's a game I'm really excited about, I do not have the willpower, patience, or desire to do that. So it doesn't always work out for me. But yeah, it's the FOMO for sure. And I mean, not that we have like this gigantic, massive audience that needs to hear what we have to say, but like, I do feel a need to, if I've got a podcast, I might as well talk about something that I'm interested in, that's new, that I'm looking forward to. So sometimes that is a motivation, even if it's not a good one. All right, let's talk about what we've been playing. Brandon,
Oh,
I'm going to let you go first
Yeah.
and bear the cone of shame.
dude, I have no shame.
I saw him come online the other night, and
I did too.
I just saw what he was playing, and I almost saw the 3 in there and immediately called the police, but then I was like, okay.
Dude,
it's
hey, listen. So, I've been playing Warzone, also Modern Warfare 2. So I've been bouncing back and forth. Not Modern Warfare 3. Not Modern Warfare 3.
Of course not. Of course not. Did you download the client though?
You have to download for any of the games. You have to
So
download the
so
client.
technically, what you're saying is we have no way to prove that you weren't playing
no.
3.
See, here's the thing though, is that they fuck you, because even if you download the client, then you have to download each thing individually. Like you have to download Plunder or fucking DMZ individually. You have to download Warzone individually. All of it separate, Ben. It's all separate. Just like things on my plate are all separate.
That's right.
You got to sanction them off, buddy. But no, I did play a couple games of Warzone. It was really discouraging because I was level 0.
Yeah.
And I had nothing, and people have been playing this game for a year. So it was fine.
2 years, right? It's been out 2 years. Oh,
yeah,
this current Warzone, you mean?
But they like drastically change it when new shit comes out. So
yeah,
it was pretty fun. I mean, mostly I was just playing Modern Warfare 2, remembering all the great memories I had with that game. Even though it wasn't my most favorite of the recent ones, I do have a lot of really good memories of playing that game. We've put so many hours into that game. And it's actually been a lot of fun going back and playing some of those old maps and remembering the whole Jaffe match, and just how much I loved some of those levels. So
Yeah.
I was surprised by how many levels they added when I left. It took me the first night I played, because I think I played 2 nights recently. The first night, I don't think I got a map I knew the entire time. I think it was just shit luck. But then last night, I got a bunch of maps I knew. So it's good shit. I'll probably play again tonight. I should probably play a game that is like not that, but I don't know. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm itching to play Call of Duty. I can't fucking wait. Although I think I'm gonna kind of be screwed because I think they are probably gonna set it up. Now, Ben, maybe you can attest to this. You probably have to pre-order to get the beta, I would imagine. So I'm imagining that if I play it on Game Pass, there's gonna be no chance that I get the beta.
I'd say that's what they've done traditionally, but now that Microsoft does own them, maybe it's like if you have Game Pass Ultimate, you get to play the beta or something like that. So, I mean, that's a guess. I have no knowledge of that.
Yeah,
That's just a guess on my hand, because like they want to incentivize people to sign up for Game Pass and get that recurring subscription. They would much rather have that than your $60 or $70, in my opinion.
Right. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I would love to try out the beta. I've been thinking a lot about Call of Duty. I've been watching some Call of Duty Twitch streams, and I just miss it thoroughly. So,
Yeah.
there's a bunch of stuff I should be playing, but unfortunately, I'm playing a game that's over 2 years old, and is Call of Duty, more importantly. So,
Dude,
that's
Brandon,
about it, man.
I'm gonna harass you a little bit for playing Call of Duty,
Please.
but I love Call of Duty. But you know my stance on this. Play what you want to play
Amen.
when you want to play it.
Amen.
Like, just because there's new stuff out or there's different stuff or whatever, what your friends are playing something else, whatever. Play what you want to play when you want to play it. Because if you're not doing that, what's the point in playing video games?
And you're not having fun, buddy.
Honestly, there have been a couple times where somebody in the recent couple months has been like, "Do you want to play Fortnite?" And I'm like, "No," because I don't want to play it right now.
That's fair. The meta sucks.
Sorry, I'm not going to have fun. And maybe I'll have fun hanging out with that person, but I'd just as soon like sit in a voice call with them and hang out
Right.
than play the game. So, yeah. Brandon, what is there right now that's like new about Warzone? Is there anything different from back in the day when we used to play? I say back in the day, like 18 months ago.
Right. Yeah, I mean, honestly, not really. Well, that's actually not true. I don't really know enough about it to. I think there's a lot of new things, to be honest with you. Like back when we were playing, there was like nukes and shit you can get. That's still a thing. There's all these like things that drop power ups almost. Like I was watching someone play today, and they were like, "Oh yeah, this power up I got from this chest like is just constantly giving you money." And so like there is a bunch of new shit. Having not played it and just watched it passively, I don't really know all of the new things aside from just watching what the map looks like and maybe seeing what guns everybody's using.
Right.
But yeah, I'm kind of like way out of the sphere.
Is it frustrating playing with guns that are not like, I guess right now a lot of the guns, in order to get your own loadout, like you would have had to play a lot of multiplayer, right?
Yeah, I would have had to have owned Modern Warfare 3. Yeah.
Right. So is that feels demoralizing to me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it is, but like every piece of ground loot is going to be a Modern Warfare 3 weapon, so it's just like
that's true.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And you're leveling up like just like you would be in multiplayer. So, I mean, I guess to an extent it's just like you're just grinding until you get what you want. And that's pretty much how the base game's played anyway, so.
Right. Dave, what about you? And by the way, this is the time where I will be trying to get a beta code for Marvel Rivals. So,
All right.
hold on to your
Carry
hats.
on. I didn't have this on my list, but Doom Eternal, I finished the campaign, or rolled creds, as the children would say. I got all the collectibles. I did all the weapon challenges. I did everything I wanted to accomplish in that first run through the campaign. I don't think I'm going to go for the platinum again, just because I'm happy with my experience with Doom Eternal, and I don't want to grind it to a point where I don't like the game anymore. So, yeah, that those last two levels are, whew, I needed a smoke after that. I don't even smoke. Yeah, it was wild, but I had a great time with Doom Eternal. It might be one of my top 10 favorite games of recent memory because
Yeah.
it's just that good. So,
Nice.
other than that, I've actually been playing quite a few games. I picked up a game called Brewmaster, the beer brewing simulator.
Oh yeah.
And Ben's starting to twitch a little bit as he hears me say I'm thinking of brewing beer for fun. I've not always, I've had a cursory interest in home brewing for a while, and now that I've moved into a slightly larger place, I actually have space to do it because, as some of you may know, with home brewing, you need a lot of space to make a mess, and you got to store big things of beer for several weeks where they kind of percolate and stuff like that. So I had this game on my Steam wish list for quite a while, and it went on sale. So I picked it up, and it's really boring. But I think the reason I wanted to play it is to kind of familiarize myself a little bit in the actual process without having to buy all this stuff, just to see if I was interested. And I think I am. So it's kind of, even though it's a boring simulator game, it does scratch the itch that I wanted. I'm gaining a little bit more knowledge in how exactly the process works. Really, all you're doing is following recipes and using different combinations of hops and different malts and seeing the different processes that go behind, like using malt extract versus like the other way that you do it. So yeah, I'm learning stuff, and I think that's what it was $7, so I didn't lose on this. The thing I don't like about the game is when you finish making the beer, the actual process, or like the part where you see the beer, is very not satisfying. The little animation that plays is the exact same every time. Like the beer
Yeah.
that you see on the screen is the exact same, and then you get these sheets that come up and they tell you like what the IBU of the beer that you made was and what it looked like. And I'm like, can I see the beer? So yeah, and you do these jobs and you don't really get ratings or anything. They just kind of like, the jobs will be like, make a beer with citrus notes, German hops, and has an IBU of at least 30. So as long as you satisfy all those things, like, you're successful. But there's no like, okay, what could I have done better and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't know how much I'm going to play of it, but again, it's increasing my knowledge base of home brewing. So that's what I wanted out of it.
Dave, let me comment on that for a minute. I've seen that game before, and I've thought, no, I don't want that. But what you're describing, the end where it's like it tells you all the details about the beer, there's a reason that that's the case. When I was a brewery owner, I brewed beer for years. People would come in, and they'd order a beer, and before it even got to them, they'd be asking 15 questions about it. And then as it gets to their mouth, they're drinking it, they take a couple sips, they start asking you, what hops are in this? What's the IBU on this? Where do you source this from? Yada, yada. And I would respond and answer their questions. And then when they were done with their question, I'd say, here's the most important question. Do you like it? Like, yes, there is good things to know. Like, it's good to know that stuff. It's good to be knowledgeable. But most of the time, the people asking those questions just want you to slip up or say something wrong so they can show you how much they know, because they're a home brewer and they know how to do it better than you do. And they want to show you how knowledgeable they are. So that's who that is. That's the kind of people that's targeted for, in my opinion. But I just would love when people would be like, I'd be like, oh, this is a stout. And they're like, oh, really? It's got this and this and this was Scott. And I'm like, okay, it's a stout. Like, that's what it is. Like, sorry that didn't fit your model, but that's a stout. Oh, did you use Chinook hops in this beer? No, I didn't. Oh, I'm pretty sure you did. Bro, I just made it. Like, I know what's in it. I'll pull up the recipe sheet for you that I made if you want. That's who that's targeted at.
Yeah,
Beer nerds are something different. There's nerds all over the place. Beer nerds are something special.
I would like to think that if I actually went ahead with the home brewing thing, that I wouldn't turn into a snobby beer nerd. My dream is simple, Ben. I would like to sit down on a crisp October morning, afternoon, turn on the TV to watch my beloved Chicago Bears, and go downstairs and get a beer, and it's my own homebrewed beer, and enjoy that beer while I watch football. That's my dream, Ben.
Yeah.
But we'll see if it happens. As you alluded to, Ben, earlier, I checked out Multiverses finally, and I haven't really spent a whole lot of time with the Smash Brothers type of fighter games. But I really wanted to check this out because, we've been talking about it quite a bit. It's free to play. You do not need a PSN subscription on PlayStation to play this game. And I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. I think it's the kind of game that I'll keep installed and I'll jump in every now and then when new characters are added. I played some online games and I won a few of them. I don't know if there's like a meta to these games or like there are in-depth like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat-esque combos to learn, or if it's just a button masher. At the moment, I'm having fun mashing buttons and I'm winning matches, and yeah, so that's that. But this being a games as a service, like whether you're winning or losing, whatever's happening, there's constantly meters filling and tickling your lizard brain, and
Right.
numbers are going up and currency everywhere. So I don't know. Even if you suck, you're gaining something. One thing I wasn't expecting is that the sort of offline, the single player part of it is, I wouldn't say robust, but there's enough there that like if I do suck online long term, like there's a lot for me to do.
Right.
So yeah, Multiverses is fun, and I think I'm going to keep playing it. So,
Nice.
yeah. Brandon, you looked like you were about to say something when I said the button mashing thing, and I know you're a Super Smash Brothers guy, so.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, like not as much as most people, but there definitely is like metas and stuff. And there's like insane combos you can hit with certain characters. So
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll have to practice.
I'm very much the button mashy person that plays those
Seems
games.
like you can still have fun though.
Yeah.
So.
yeah, for sure.
The last thing is Sleeping Dogs. I picked up this game last summer and I played through about half of it, and I moved and forgot about it. But I've been thinking about it, and I went back, and fuck, this game is so much fun. To me, it is a GTA clone. Everybody knew that, it always has been, but it kind of like takes the arcadey elements and turns it up just a little bit. And it's not like Saints Row silly, but it's like cheesy action movie silly, and that's what I love about it. I think what really sets Sleeping Dogs apart from Grand Theft Auto is the brawling combat and the parkour stuff, like the movie chase scene, kind of when you're running over crates and pigeons are flying everywhere and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, this game's just silly. There's fun stuff to do everywhere. You can go to massage parlors. There's karaoke. The driving's fun. The story is cheesy, but it's interesting, and the characters I like. Like, this is a corny action movie I want to watch from 2001. And yeah, so if you're waiting for GTA 6 next year and you've played through all the old GTA games and you haven't played Sleeping Dogs, I can't recommend this game. It has aged pretty well. So yeah, Sleeping Dogs is an awesome game.
Nice. That's a series that I've never bothered with or tried, but sounds like it would appeal to me, honestly. For me, I gotta look at my list to see what I've been playing. I don't remember. I'm gonna start out with Power Wash Simulator. I recently just went ahead, like I played the game and got all the achievements on Game Pass, and then I bought a couple DLCs, and then I was like, you know what? I have a $50 gift card for Microsoft right now, and it expired in like a couple days. So I was just like, okay. So I bought Power Wash Simulator on on the Microsoft app, and then also bought all of the DLCs so far, some of which I hadn't played yet, and I think it ended up costing me out of pocket like $5 or something. So, and then I went ahead and finished all those, and of course, 100% of the game once again, not entirely from the beginning, but like got back up to 100% with all the DLCs. So, I just love it. It's just so good, just so relaxing.
Absolutely.
Just whoosh, just washing. Just
Good
wash.
shit, man.
Yeah.
Good shit.
Then I've also been playing Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess. And this is a game that I had really not had any eyes on at all. It's a mix of, well, first of all, it's Japanese. It's very weebish.
Is it?
I don't know if it really is or not. I mean, it sounds like it. It looks like it. I'm not sure who actually made it, but it definitely feels that way. The whole thing, I don't really care about the story at all. It doesn't really matter to me, and doesn't seem to be too much of a robust story or anything. But the whole thing is, you start out a level. There's this goddess that you're protecting, and she has to get from where you are to the gate to go into the next level. And you have to forge her a path, and then eventually you go around, you free these villagers, these woodcutters, archers, whatever, and you free them, and then they become like your help. They help you, and they become villagers that are no longer enslaved by the trees and stuff that are holding them hostage. I don't. It's okay. I don't understand it either. Okay. You go to the end. You do the gate, and at night the monsters start coming. And there's probably more technical terms for this. It doesn't matter. I don't care. They're monsters of some kind, and they come, and it's basically a wave-based tower defense game. You go around, you collect a bunch of stuff that help enhance. As you progress, you can unlock different attributes and everything. And you basically have to slay every monster as they come and make sure that none of them get to the goddess. By the way, she stops moving at night. So during the day, the path you forge for her, she'll follow that path to get to the other side. At night, she stops moving, and then the attack comes. And, the villagers that you've helped, and you have to defeat all the monsters to make sure she doesn't get hurt. Then you get through the end, and you have the opportunity to, upgrade all your stuff, go back to your camp, and repair the things that have been destroyed, collect currency, all that kind of stuff. But really, it's very flashy. It's just a tower defense game. Really, is what it is. It's a wave-based tower defense game.
Isn't one of the unique shticks of this game is that so you hire people to help defend with you, but then you also actively defend as well.
Correct. Yeah.
So I feel like that's like a differentiator.
Yep.
Is that a lot of tower defense games, you're just setting shit up and then seeing how it plays out.
Right.
This one has a cool mechanic where it's you actually are actively fighting while your people are defending.
You are correct.
It's like that mode in Monster Hunter Rise.
I'll take your word for it. I've never played that mode. But I like it. I've probably only put 3 or 4 hours into it, and I'm playing it on PS5. Although I found out after the fact that it is on Game Pass as well. So if anyone's interested, checking it out there. But I don't know, it's cool. I don't know if it's a game I'm going to finish, to be quite honest with you. I played, 5 or 6 levels, and I was like, okay, I'm sure this gets more in-depth later and gets more difficult and then unlocks more stuff. But I'll play again for sure. But at that point, I was just kind of I feel like I've seen what I wanted to see from this game. And I mean, I didn't pay for it. I didn't buy it, so I don't feel that obligation either. But I do. I think it's a good game, and I like it, and it's definitely a cool take on it. The setting alone, is unique for a tower defense type game. And like Brandon said, you have that extra attribute of your fighting them. Although it's not very complicated, and I'm sure that changes as you go further into the game. I'm sure it gets more complex, and you unlock more moves, and you unlock more abilities, and whatever. But as of right now, I'm having fun with it. We'll see how long that takes. I think I saw somewhere that the game's 15 to 20 hours, which honestly seems like a long time for a game like this, but it is a $60 game. So it does make sense that, it should have a little bit of length to it, in my opinion, for the type of game it is, since it's not hugely narrative. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I like it. It's a unique take, and it's something a little different that you have tower defense games and you have, action brawlers and everything else, and this is kind of a mix of the two, and base building to some extent. So I like that.
It's visually pleasing too.
It is visually pleasing. Yeah, absolutely. And then the other thing is Sea of Thieves Season 12 dropped last Thursday. So I've spent a fair amount of time playing Season 12. The biggest thing that dropped is a new world event. This is the first new world event. I started playing in 2021, and I think about a month later, a couple months later, a new world event dropped. And this is the first one since then. So a little over 3 years since the last world event dropped. And this one is Flameheart's back. He's the big bad guy. Really corny bad guy, in my opinion. But he's the big bad guy in the world, and this is his ship, and he's back. And basically you have to go, and the logic doesn't make sense here. You go and you defeat the ship, and then you pledge yourself to the ship and become the ship. Your ship goes away, and you now have this ship. And it is a behemoth. It is gigantic, and your goal is to go around and collect the information from these rituals around the world. And as you do so, your ship gets more and more powerful. And then at the end, you take all that knowledge back to Flameheart at the Reaper's hideout, and you turn it in, and you make a bunch of money and reputation and everything else like that. The other aspect of it is to go and sync. So if you sync it while it's AI controlled, you have the option to take it over. If somebody else has already taken it over, the only option you have is to sink it. If you don't, if you want to participate in that event. And when you do so, it has a little bit of loot on board, but it also has a really powerful sword, which is where all that knowledge is imbued. And you take that and you turn it in, and it's, again, worth a huge amount of money. The event is really fun. Fighting the ship is a good time. It is really difficult because there are AI skeletons that you don't. If you're controlling it, you don't even have to control them. Like, honestly, as a solo or duo, you could probably, maybe you don't win every fight, but you could probably get a big you're going to get a big advantage because the skeletons immediately repair. You just have to throw a couple buckets of water out every now and then. It's got 10 cannons and a giant ass flamethrower on the front of it. 10 cannons total, and then on the front of it is a giant flamethrower called the Ashen Roar. And it's just a behemoth. It's a powerhouse. So I've been spending a lot of time playing that, tracking those down, fighting them. There was an exploit that they patched a little bit. They came up with a fix with today. Finding those exploiters and just ruining their day has been a lot of fun as well. Fortunately, that didn't keep going because it just, destroys the economy of the game, destroys the morale of the game in some people's opinions, including mine. But now that that's hopefully patched out for a while, it's a lot of fun. And I'm enjoying Sea of Thieves as always, although it is funny because you go through this. Usually there's more than one boat contesting to take it over. And then once you take it over, you're like, all right. And maybe you have to fend some people off. You have to fight some people. But like the whole point of having it is to go around and do PvE. And that's not my jam, but it attracts PvP at the same time. So, yeah, that's season 12. That's what I've been playing. And that's what we got for the show, I think.
That's it.
By the way, for everybody who was just waiting on the edge of their seat, I got a Marvel Rivals beta code
Oh,
while Dave was talking.
Is it just a Twitch drop?
So there's a Twitch drop. You have to watch for an hour to unlock the drop, and then you have to click that drop and go to their website and redeem the drop for a code.
Got it.
So I think if you watch for an hour, you can try it, and then if they're out of codes, you can try again the next day without having to rewatch the hour. That's how it works.
Understood.
Yeah, I've watched an hour. I didn't really watch an hour. I just had it up on my screen like 2 or 3 days ago, and just finally got the code today because they were going quickly, I guess I'll say. All right. That's the show. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Thank you very much. Again, every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock here on YouTube. Everywhere else, Wednesday or Thursday. Go over to patreon.com/handsomephantom. Add for early access for as little as $1 a month. Join the Discord at handsomephantom.com/discord. We appreciate everybody there. And that's all we got.
that's it.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
All right, we need a name for this show.
But is there mod support?
Hey. Sounds good to me.
Good enough. All right. I guess that's it. And we're probably going to head out. And then Brandon's going to tell us how much he made illegally.
Not illegally.
That he's not reporting to the government.
No. How much I allegedly made.
How much you allegedly made. Because you definitely didn't make anything.
Allegedly.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.